All right, what's up, guys? So I've been getting a lot of questions about the Czechmate that I've been shooting in open division. A lot of people wondering why I'm shooting that as opposed to a 2011, and also how I have it set up. So the why, one of the biggest reasons is going to be price and availability. I think this is the cheapest open gun on the market that you can still be competitive with. You know, even compared to like the Bull Armories or the MPAs, this full setup right here, I'm still in it less than I would be buying one of those. Another big reason to shoot this is coming from a Shadow 2 to the Czechmate is a very easy transition. I mean, they're almost identical setups. The grip on the Czechmate's a little bit fatter, but other than that, they index very similar. You have a lot of parts compatibility between the two, so it's a very easy transition between the two setups. All right, so here's how I have mine set up versus one that comes from the factory. Both of these are Parrots, which really doesn't mean anything other than just they do some sweet anodized color from the factory. So starting at the muzzle, you see the compensator. I had CZ Custom remove a chamber from the comp and add 2 portholes. I'm not the smartest dude when it comes to shooting major with how the comps need to work, but I just looked at what Eric Raffel and Robin Sebo had done to theirs and figured if it was good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So I took some screenshots and sent it to CZ Custom and had them do that. Going back to the Optic, so from the factory, it comes with this Seymour, which is perfectly usable and functional from the factory, but the height over bore is a little bit crazy on it. You know, it has a nice big window, but it's just kind of archaic for me. So I threw a Romeo 3 on it with the CZ Custom Optic mount. I like the CZ Custom mount because these Romeos are kind of unreliable. So eventually I'm sure I'll throw an SRO or a 507 comp on there, and it's easy just to pull this out, drop the new pegs, and the mount is already cut for a multitude of optics. Going back to the slide racker, I had CZ Custom fit a EGW slide racker. The one from the factory kind of sticks straight out from the dovetail, which I didn't like. I like my slide racker on the left-hand side. I feel like it's a little bit easier to rack it on the left side, being a right-handed shooter. But with this one over here, it ends up kind of getting in the way and sticking out to where my firing hand thumb is on that safety. So this one's nice and out of the way, but still big enough that you can easily get to it. Down to the safety, I threw a Shadow 2 safety on here. It was just a drop-in replacement. The one that comes on the gun is a little bit low profile for me. It also kind of inhibits, like it's kind of hard to activate it on the draw. And also once it's on fire, it ends up digging into my support hand the way I grip the gun. So that was no bueno. The Shadow 2 one just ended up being a drop-in fit with the low profile right side and then the extended left side, which was easy. The mag release, I went with one of the, I think it's the Tactical Sport 2 mag release. There's nothing really wrong with the mag release that comes on the gun, other than I just wanted it to be the same setup between the Shadow 2 and the Czechmate. Grips are obviously, there's a million grips out there for the Shadow, like Shadow platform. So personal preference, I like the lock grips, the brass ones with the G10 insert. They seem to work well for me. The frame's a little bit too wide for palm swells, in my opinion, for my hands. Down to the Magwell. This is the Tech brass Magwell. It's not really like anything crazy compared to the one that comes on the gun from the factory, but it does have some hefty weight, so it pulls the center of balance back on the gun, which makes it a little bit more handy and not so front heavy or muzzle heavy as a lot of people complain about the Czechmate. So to the internals, I didn't do anything to the internals. So how the trigger came is how it out of the box is how it is. I didn't do any polishing, nothing like that. The recoil spring, I think it's 15, 16, whatever CZ put in the gun from the factory is the recoil spring I have in there. Same with the main spring, which I think is a 16-pound. But for me, with how it's set up, it ends up working pretty well. Runs very reliably, and has been a pretty awesome setup. So let me know if you guys have any questions.